For me, emotionally, it just wasn't on the plate then. What's the alternative? Nobody takes over. And Wheeler Dealers finishes.
He was Wheeler Dealer's charming mechanic, but when the cameras stopped rolling, fans had no idea what came next. Rumors of betrayal, bankruptcy, and a Hollywood romance gone cold have exploded across headlines. From multi-million-dollar lawsuits to accusations of biased judging, and even whispers of infidelity, Ant Anstead's post-Wheeler Dealer's life has taken a jaw-dropping turn. What really happened after Ant left the show that made him famous? Did fame and fortune collapse under the weight of ambition, or something darker? In this video, we dive into the wild, untold story of Ant Anstead's rise, fall, and the controversy surrounding his second act. Some of what you're about to hear may change how you see him forever. The garage star walks away. When Ant Anstead announced his departure from Wheeler Dealers in 2020, it sent shockwaves through the automotive TV world. Fans had come to admire his calm demeanor, sleek fabrication skills, and his ability to modernize a long-standing franchise. The official story, echoed by Discovery and Anstead himself, was that the move was logistical. Wheeler Dealers was heading back to the UK, and Ant was choosing to stay in California to be near his son. But behind the clean headlines, rumors swirled that deeper tensions had been brewing for some time. Whispers suggested ongoing disagreements between the British and American production teams created an increasingly difficult work environment for Ant. Though never publicly addressed in detail, those close to the production reportedly spoke of behind-the-scenes friction that made his position untenable long before the relocation excuse was announced. Ant had joined the show in 2017, replacing beloved co-host Ed China, and brought with him a distinctly different flavor. His background in car restoration and police work gave him a practical, grounded presence, but more polished and camera-friendly than his predecessor. Ant quickly became the face of a new era for Wheeler Dealers, helping introduce the British classic to a wider American audience. However, some claimed the chemistry between Ant and longtime host Mike Brewer was never quite right. According to these rumors, creative differences surfaced frequently, especially when it came to how much workshop time was shown in episodes and what types of vehicles were worth restoring. While both hosts remained professional on screen, insiders allege their off-screen dynamic lacked the camaraderie fans had enjoyed during earlier seasons. The reception of Ant during his tenure has proved to be as contentious as any internal politics rumored. Some watchers hold the belief that Ant gave the garage a fresh air of sophistication. His craftsmanship of modern restoration techniques had really lifted the show and made it to appeal to wider audiences. Yet, on the other hand, many missed the rougher, more down-to-earth style the original UK identity brought to the show. That change did not sit well with old fans, who thought Ant's more polished, almost sterile approach was grating. The arguments became heated when Ant exited the show and Mark Elvis Priestley replaced him as the new wrench-turner. Social networking became a battlefront of opinion for most fans, rejoicing over Priestley's old-fashioned garage style, while others were sad over what they considered the extinction of Ant's stylized touch. Nevertheless, amidst fan polarization and the rumors of rifts within, Ant's exit signified a courageous career change. Some regarded it as a pullback, so that he could reassess after years of fame. Others saw it as an opportunistic departure from a low-growth show. Ant himself stayed mostly mute in the immediate aftermath, which spurred even more speculation on what had happened. Rather than a tell-all, he chose to move forward, providing vague updates to future projects. But that silence only compounded the intrigue. Who walks away from a globally syndicated show with a built-in audience? Something must have happened behind the scenes to make staying on the show impossible. With his departure having just recently transpired, fans speculated about Ant's prospective next moves. Would he return to the UK to work on car projects away from the public eye? Would he launch into a new series, maybe one with truly creative control in itself? For some time, his future remained as clouded as the reasons for his departure. That said, one thing stood clear. Ant Anstead was very much not done. In fact, Quite the opposite. He was just getting started. In true Ant fashion, instead of fading gently into retirement, his next move would be even harder working, to cash in on luxury car manufacturing, a commodity line where the price of failure would be higher and success even harder earned. But just when fans thought Ant was stepping back, he launched into something even riskier. A dream gone up in smoke. In 2021, Ant Anstead made headlines once again, not for restoring a classic car on television, but for co-founding a high-profile automotive startup, Radford Motors. Alongside Formula One champion Jenson Button, designer Mark Stubbs, and lawyer Roger Bailey, Ant set out to revive a legendary British coach-building brand. Their vision was ambitious, to blend the spirit of mid-century craftsmanship with modern supercar engineering. The flagship model, the Radford Type 62-2, was based on the Lotus Exige platform and promised limited edition exclusivity with a price tag north of $500,000. The prototype stunned onlookers at Monterey Car Week, and the team quickly racked up press features, celebrity buzz, and interest from deep-pocketed collectors. It looked like the perfect comeback vehicle, both literally and figuratively, for Ant. For a time, Radford Motors became a beacon of possibility. The promotional materials leaned heavily into the idea of artisanship, hand-built bodies, luxury interiors, and an obsessive attention to detail. Ant and Jenson appeared on podcasts and red carpets, speaking passionately about honoring Radford's heritage while pushing its identity into the future. Limited production runs of just 62 cars added to the mystique. Pre-orders came in fast, with some clients reportedly paying deposits ranging from $100,000 to $750,000. The company was operating from Costa Mesa, California, and its sleek, high-end aesthetic seemed to mirror Ant's own personal brand, a blend of performance, style, and authenticity. But as the months passed, signs of trouble began to surface behind the polished exterior. By late 2024, the financial wheels began to come off. Rumors circulated that production delays were mounting and that internal mismanagement was beginning to unravel the company's operations. In October of that year, Radford Motors filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, signaling that all was not well in the dream garage. What started as whispers soon turned into formal allegations. Customers claimed they had paid substantial deposits and never received a vehicle. Others alleged broken communication, missed delivery deadlines, and vague excuses from Radford's management. The fallout intensified when, just a few months later, the company faced escalating legal battles and internal discord that pushed it toward Chapter 7 liquidation by mid-2025. For the lawsuits that are going on, they painted a very bad picture. Multiple customers, both private, the top-of-the-line dealerships, have filed legal complaints for breach of contract and fraud. Some have gone so far as to say they've wired estranged six-figure amounts, but received nothing since then, except CAD renderings or promises. Co-founders turned against each other, it was stated, with charges of financial mismanagement and non-fulfillment of vendor contracts, as well as suspicious practices internally. Rumors suggested that one founder tried bailing out the company with a personal loan, while another allegedly redirected funds without the approval of the board. The moment each lawsuit is filed, Radford's glossy brand starts to shed its shine and reveal the chaos underneath. And at the center of it all, whether fairly or not, was Ant Anstead. Through the collapse, Ant remained unusually quiet. He didn't make public statements about the company's bankruptcy or respond to investor outrage. Some supporters defended him, suggesting that he had been more of a creative partner than a financial decision-maker. But others felt differently. To them, Ant's public face had sold a dream, a return to hand-built automotive greatness. And when that dream imploded, it left more than just disappointed customers. It left people feeling betrayed. The Costa Mesa facility was eventually shut down, and employees were reportedly laid off with little notice. Eviction proceedings, rumored disputes with vendors, and a growing list of unpaid invoices further tarnished what had once been a golden opportunity. As the dust settled, Radford Motors became a cautionary tale. It showed how even the best branding and biggest names couldn't guarantee success in a volatile, capital-heavy industry. It also raised questions about Ant's decision-making off-camera. Was it a matter of poor business judgment, or simply the kind of risk that sometimes comes with chasing a big dream? Whatever the case, the Radford fallout marked a critical turning point in Ant's post-TV journey. The sleek garages and photo-ready supercars gave way to court filings, complaints, and financial wreckage. Fans who had once rooted for Ant as a rising star now watched with disappointment as the wheels quite literally came off. And that wasn't the only place his judgment came under fire. Judging scandal on HGTV's The Flip-Off. In early 2025, Ant Anstead found himself back on television, but not under the circumstances anyone expected. This time, he wasn't in a garage, nor was he surrounded by classic cars. Instead, he was a guest judge on The Flip-Off, a flashy home renovation competition show on HGTV. Hosted by his ex-wife, Christina Haack, the series pitted design teams against each other in a battle of real estate flips, blending drama with demo. When Ant appeared during episode 4, it was billed as a fun cameo. But what started as a novelty quickly became a firestorm. In a moment that blindsided viewers and cast members alike, Ant awarded the episode's win to Christina's team, despite widespread agreement that the opposing team had presented a stronger, more cohesive design. Almost immediately, eyebrows were raised. Online chatter exploded as interior design critics, fans, and even former HGTV contributors questioned the legitimacy of Ant's decision. Many pointed out that Christina's team had faltered on key judging criteria, including budget adherence and curb appeal. Meanwhile, the rival team had nailed the brief with a bold kitchen remodel and impressive ROI projections. Yet Ant's vote tipped the scale, sealing victory for Christina and her squad. What made things even more controversial was the perceived conflict of interest. Christina wasn't just another contestant. She was the show's host and his former partner. For some viewers, the win felt less like competition and more like collusion. It was a confession made after the show had ended. Days after the episode had aired, Ant dropped a cryptic caption like a bomb beside a behind-the-scenes snapshot. "Christina and me on the same team forever. This judge is swayed." This was a comment that suddenly exploded in the media. A thought that was maybe a little cheeky twist on their common past was instead read as a reluctant admission that the judge's feelings had been somewhat colored by romantic considerations. Fans began accusing him of ruining the integrity of the show. With the historical setting and the fact that they were on a professional platform, a lot have claimed the comment is very insensitive. Even past supporters of both Ant and Christina were left raising eyebrows. Thus, they waited for immediate effects to be felt in the most dramatic ways. One contestant is said to have gotten so angry with the situation that he stormed off the set during post-filming interviews. Tension reportedly boiled over at production meetings, where murmurs of favoritism were heard. HGTV was usually the most tight-lipped when it came to backstage outbreaks. However, reports claimed they were caught by surprise at the backlash. Network executives allegedly considered pulling the episode from streaming services entirely. While it remained available in the end, the controversy did not die down. Social media erupted with calls for more transparency in show judging and criticism of what some considered an overt lapse in professionalism. For him, this became not just a piece of digital noise, but another blow to his already battered credibility. The least loss of reputation could lead him to reconsider some decisions. It had begun with the fall of Radford Motors and the storm of tabloid gossip around his personal life. The flip-off suit scandal served only as the final vindication to an already prevalent notion that Ant's personal choice-making and business decision-making were becoming convoluted with pressure. While he later tried to explain that he had meant it light-heartedly and in jest, it was too late. It was a hard pill to swallow for these same viewers who had previously viewed him as a straight shooter who did not take any nonsense. The thought that Ant had allowed emotions or personal loyalty to get in the way of objective judging. But just as professional trust was wavering, Ant's personal life took center stage for all the wrong reasons. the Renee Zellweger rumors that won't die. When Ant Anstead and Renee Zellweger first went public with their relationship in 2021, it seemed like the unlikely but sweet match the celebrity world didn't know it needed. He was the dashing, hands-on gearhead fresh off a messy divorce. She was the reclusive, Oscar-winning actress known for her elegance, talent, and privacy. Their romance reportedly began while filming an episode of Celebrity IOU, Joyride, and what followed was a whirlwind. The couple was soon seen holding hands, enjoying beach walks, and appearing at the occasional red carpet event. Always affectionate, always glowing. For a while, they appeared inseparable, drawing admiration from fans and curiosity from tabloids. It was a pairing that mixed Hollywood glamour with down-to-earth charm, and many thought they had stumbled into something rare, a genuine connection. In the months that followed, Ant and Renee were low-key but solid. They didn't overshare, but what little they did reveal painted the picture of a grounded, affectionate couple. Ant posted tributes to Renee on social media, often referring to her as his core, while Renee, true to her private nature, kept most of her affection out of the spotlight. They seemed to support each other quietly, Ant with his automotive ventures, and Renee with her acting projects. The relationship was the kind that made headlines simply by existing. Two stars from very different worlds finding solace in one another. But by mid-2025, things began to change. Public sightings became scarce. Social media posts grew infrequent. And then came the rumors. There were rumors about Ant spending time at the Laguna Beach guest house of a woman called Julia French, who is said to be a local entrepreneur and acquaintance of Ant. The tabloids stated that Renee was busy with a project in New York and with Ant at the guest house for a long time. It raised quite an eyebrow. Soon, out came some grainy paparazzi photography, conclusive enough to be proof, but certainly tantalizingly suggestive. The whispers included lines suggesting infidelity, emotional distance, or at worst, an unconventional living condition. At best, Ant had grown close to Julia during Renee's absence. The others said otherwise and called it a logistical move, purely just a crash pad during renovation of his own house. In the world of celebrity gossip, the line between what is true or suggestive often becomes pretty blurry very soon. Just a brief but very pointed denial from the team of Ant. His spokespersons referred to the guest house stories as disrespectful and attributed them to what is just the usual sensationalization that comes along with high-profile relationships. Ant's representatives went so far as to call his visit a mere logistical affair, devoid of any romance. Still, the air of doubt lingers. Fans noticed that the pair was not present at bigger activities where Renee was most likely to show up with a date. Also, there seemed to be a decrease in their affectionate messages online, and though neither party confirmed a separation, the visibility change was still enough to keep people stirring rumors. Some speculate that the long-distance aspect of their relationship has finally taken effect, while others roll their eyes at the thought of Ant's legal mess and business fallout being enough to put pressure even on the strongest bond. The quietness of Ant was even more a big part of putting gasoline to the fire. Unlike in earlier chapters of his life, when he might issue a clarifying statement or post an insight into the situation, this time he chose silence. People interpreted that silence in a number of ways. Dignified refusal to entertain baseless gossip, or more subtly as an implicit admission that something had moved. Renee was still silent, going on with the shooting of films without participating in any of the tabloid gossip. However, the lack of public going on gives rise to a curiosity more, and for fans cheering on from the sidelines, it is as if watching a fairy tale unfold in slow motion. Then, as soon as the heat seemed to fade, Ant went and stirred the pot once more. He took to a car show in California all by himself, relaxed and smiling. But probably the most amazing thing caught by those interested in his private life. You guessed it, no winks to Renee on his public appearances for the earlier years. Speculation ruled the air again, but not about some creamy love scandal. Instead, was there some other quiet heartbreak being cherished? Was the love affair over? Had it simply run its course? Or were those two just hibernating from the public eye to save the best? Nobody knew for sure, and Ant and Renee offered no answers. What remained was a reverberation of a love story that for a moment seemed quite sure of itself, and the question of whether it had really quietly ended without anyone noticing. Through it all, Ant remained quiet until one sudden move reignited speculation about where his heart really was. Ant, the family man. Ant Anstead has long positioned himself as a devoted father, and for many fans, that image has been one of the most enduring and likable parts of his public identity. Whether he's posting heartfelt tributes to his children or sharing snapshots of dad and son time with young Hudson, Ant has made fatherhood a central part of his narrative. He often speaks about how becoming a father changed his perspective, grounding him amid the chaos of fame, career shifts, and personal upheaval. His Instagram feed paints a portrait of a loving, hands-on dad. Nature walks, messy ice cream days, Lego builds, and early morning school runs. To many, it's this side of Ant, the family man, that redeems him from the spotlight drama and business controversies. One challenge of parenting publicly is sharing a child with another celebrity. This has been the case with Ant and Christina Hawk, who share custody of their son and have been embroiled in a rather complicated co-parenting journey since they finalized their divorce in 2021. What was once a very blended modern family started to disintegrate publicly. Tension was palpable during their split, with paparazzi capturing custody handoffs in awkward and sometimes very cold ways across parking lots and driveways. Court documents revealed that the two disagreed about travel schedules, parenting styles, and even school choices. While neither will say anything regarding the particulars, the optics tell a different tale of strain, misalignment, and an unwillingness to put on a happy face for the cameras anymore. Nonetheless, Ant's pattern of co-parenting earned him a split between praise and backlash. On the plus side, he did appear to take his duties seriously in terms of giving Hudson stability and consistency. He spoke frankly about his aim to raise his children in interview value-based life, with grit and kindness. Most of them longed for him not to air his grievances publicly, especially at a time when Christina moved on and remarried. Others criticized him, wondering whether the online persona would be the portrayal of the super dad, an artfully constructed public perception that really disassociated itself from the messier reality. The juxtaposition between his placid Instagram posts and the marked tension in court filings seemed a bit suspect. Damage control or true transparency? As the flip-off episode aired, and Ant was accused of favoring Christina's team over his, the co-parenting harmony story had begun to fracture. Rumors surfaced that this on-screen reunion was more manageable than authentic, a convenient ploy to soften public speculation rather than a sign of a true reconciliation. Ant's now legendary social media post, "Christina and me on the same team forever, this judge is swayed," changed the rules for quite a few people. The formerly restrained, cool co-parent had, in classic fashion, slipped into overt sentimentality, which many saw as borderline emotionally manipulative, or, at the very least, confusing. This juxtaposition spawned a more profound question. Was this about fatherhood or brand management? Undoubtedly, Ant's social media accounts are a pedagogical case in personal branding. The posts are almost always warm and inspirational, full of curated moments of joy, father-son bonding, peaceful landscapes, and, of course, pet dogs. It is intentionally contrived, curated, and modeled on a lifestyle magazine spread, rather than the nakedness many contemporary fans have come to expect of public figures grappling with real-life struggles. Some observers began to speculate that Ant's image is becoming almost a protective shell through which to deflect from the mounting pressures of his legal, business, and private life. Was he masking those complexities with overt positivity and domestic charm? And now, fans are asking, what's real and what's performance? Life after Wheeler Dealers. After the storm of public controversies and business setbacks, many wondered what Ant Anstead's next move would be. For someone so closely tied to the spotlight, from Wheeler Dealers to high-profile relationships, Ant's sudden retreat from mainstream media was noticeable. But behind the scenes, a quieter transformation was taking place. In 2023, Ant reportedly began consulting for Hollywood productions, lending his mechanical expertise to film car builds and high-stakes vehicle stunts. It wasn't a headline-grabbing pivot, but it made sense. It kept him close to the machines he loved without the constant gaze of a reality TV crew. Rumors suggested he played a role in designing or modifying cars for major blockbusters, though Ant himself remained discreet about the details. This career turned into film consulting, allowing Ant to enjoy and do what he is most probably at his best, such as building, innovating, and problem-solving, without being the charismatic host. It was a version of reinventing instead of a celebrity for craft. Even among his peers in the industry, he was still respected based on skill. Mechanics, fabricators, and stunt coordinators, however, talked positively about his ability to straddle the border from technical know-how to imagination. And while Ant fans from his television work mightn't have seen those projects in the bright lights, Ant was quietly remaking another kind of reputation based on utility rather than visibility. It wasn't flashy, but rather stealthy and strategic. After all, behind the curtain, one could even have a longer career in Hollywood than in front of it. In the midst of this, rumors were starting to come out that Ant wasn't done with TV yet. Rumors began to circulate, especially in mid-2024, of a series being lined up for Discovery Plus, though nothing is officially confirmed at this point. Some insiders suggest that the series will be more documentary style than Ant's previous productions, focusing instead on an underappreciated breed of classic cars and the human interest stories behind restoring them. Other insider scorings make it that Ant was demanding full creative control this time, refusing to go back to any format that puts drama before substance. Whether the rumors will lead to an actual series is yet to be seen. For now, he has remained mercifully low-key in the background, stepping back instead of trying to force an entrance back into an industry that is oftentimes unforgiving. Part of his retreat was self-imposed, but it seemed partly a necessity. After all, Radford Motors collapsed, leaving damaged customers and lawsuits behind it. But also much talk over the flip-off made Ant take more than a few turns down in public persona. Rebuilding trust will not happen overnight, and Ant seemed to know this. Rather than holding public apologies and being overexposed, he built privacy around himself. He avoided doing interviews, limited his social media presence, and let the headlines drift by. This silence was not weakness. Perhaps it was damage control. After all, sometimes the best way to clean up a mess is not to talk, but to do. Whatever comes next, one thing's clear. Ant Anstead's journey is far from over. The legacy he didn't expect. Ant Anstead's journey has never followed a predictable path. From his early days as a British police constable to becoming an internationally recognized automotive expert and television host, his rise was anything but conventional. He wasn't born into fame, nor did he seem to chase it at first. His career evolved out of passion, first for restoring classic cars, then for storytelling, and eventually for building a brand. His charm, easygoing presence, and mechanical mastery made him a standout in the world of reality TV. By the time he was co-hosting Wheeler Dealers, Ant had solidified his place as one of the genre's most respected figures. But as the years passed and the spotlight grew harsher, that legacy began to shift. and not always in the way he likely intended. Thus began a success story that slowly morphed into something complicated. The tale of how Ant became estranged from wheeler dealers and took a big risk with his own life. Radford Motors seemed to have everything going for it. A lineup of supercars limited by editions, a team of founding stars, and some incredible plans. Then the company fell apart during lawsuits and bankruptcies, and all sorts of questions were raised on his judgment and leadership. An appearance by him on HGTV's The Flip-Off, in which he controversially awarded the victory to his ex-wife's team, aroused accusations of bias and lapses in professionalism. Just like that, Ant now owned the name conjured up not only with craftsmanship and charisma, but also with scandal, failure, and blurred lines between business and personal loyalties. The result? A fan base that now finds itself deeply divided. On one side are the loyalists, those who admire his work ethic, his eye for design, and his ongoing dedication to fatherhood. These fans see Ant as a complex, flawed human being navigating an unforgiving industry, often with grace. On the other side are the skeptics. To them, the Radford lawsuits and flip-off controversy represent deeper issues: mismanagement, questionable decision-making, and a tendency to prioritize optics over ethics. Some even argue that his social media presence, full of smiling selfies, scenic views, and father-son bonding moments, feels more like performance than reality. In this view, the Ant Anstead of today is more brand than man. For every post of fatherhood bliss, there's a comment questioning his business moves. Supporters defend him passionately, often citing his personal struggles and comeback story. Meanwhile, critics seem more convinced than ever that the glossy image hides unresolved problems. If you found this deep dive fascinating, like, subscribe, and watch our next video for more explosive truths from behind the scenes of your favorite stars. And don't forget to comment below. What do you think Ant's next chapter will be?